Now to the Supreme Court. Today, the justices heard arguments about whether former President Trump should have immunity as he faces charges of interfering in the 2020 presidential election.
All right, so the outcome of this case could have wide-ranging repercussions for our democracy and a major impact on presidential powers. Our Simone D'Alba is live outside of the Supreme Court tonight. And Simone, we know listening to some of their questions, the justices seem to be hinting at how they may rule in this case, right?
Well, guys, the justices really appeared skeptical of Trump's claims to sweeping immunity. The arguments have ended for the day, and now focuses have really shifted to a timeline for this decision. That's been a major question here. Let's go ahead and take a listen to some of the court proceedings today. We wanted to get you some sound.
Without presidential immunity from criminal prosecution, there can be no presidency as we know it.
If the president decides that his rival is a corrupt person and he orders the military or orders someone to assassinate him, is that within his official acts that for which he can get immunity?
It would depend on the hypothetical.
We wanted to go ahead and bring in Matt Gregory because, you know, this case has such trauma for D.C. specifically when you think of it from a local perspective, and I know that's something you're taking a look at today.
Yeah, I mean, when we think about it, yes, there are big implications for this, right? The former president's actions, whether they are legal or not legal, that's for a court to decide, or liable or not liable, that's for a court to look at. But after we see what happens with immunity, what the extent of immunity is, there's still something left over for D.C. here because so much of this happened here. His actions, the results of those resulted in the Capitol being attacked. And so while today is going to be a landmark decision, like we've said, for presidential immunity, what the extent of it looks like for people who live in D.C., it's really more of a reminder of a quite turbulent time.
That's what we do in America.
Protesters line up outside the Supreme Court. It's a D.C. sight as common as the cherry blossoms. It comes with the season. But there's something about this day, this case, that's different.
This is the most historic case that I have seen at the Supreme Court since I've been alive.
And part of it involves D.C. The Justice Department's attorneys allege former President Trump's attempts to subvert the 2020 election led to his followers attacking the Capitol on January 6th.
I came in that day to be vaccinated.
Sharon Eliza Nichols works for D.C. Representative Eleanor Holmes Norton, and she remembers the terror for that day, which has led to the trauma she lives with now.
I'm much faster to check in with my coworkers who I know might be in danger. I'm also a little scared when large crowds gather, especially at work.
But outside the Supreme Court, she says she isn't triggered by the ongoing legal cases against the former president. In fact, with this one, she says she sees it as part of a process. Closure.
I feel like it is part of the healing process and that it'll help us all move forward. Everybody who was trapped here that day, all the Capitol Police officers who risked their personal safety, and the country that watched it on TV.
It's a historic Supreme Court case that hits in the heart of the district, and for some, personally.
Yeah, you know, one of the things that we do think about with this is that, you know, her experience is not the same for everyone. And so she wanted to point that out, that it's not all seen as healing for all of them. Some of them just don't want to remember it. Some of them do see these events and don't want to keep focusing on it. It's like, it's there, why keep bringing it up? So she wanted to point that out. But also, it's important to remember, Sharon used to run a support group for people who were survivors of January 6th, along with former Capitol Police Officer Harry Dunn. So you can see just how close this is to the heart for so many people here in D.C. because this is the town where the federal work is done.
Absolutely, and hearing the trauma some of them still deal with, especially just hearing when the case comes up and things like that, it's a good reminder. All right, Matt, thank you. We're going to send it back to you in the studio, Lorenzo. And again, the timeline for the justice's decision, again, there has not been a decision made. I really want to stress that. With cases of this magnitude, we could very well see this end of June, early July at the earliest. So we'll keep you posted.
Yeah, we know this immunity case isn't just about former President Trump, but will also impact future presidents as well. Simone, Matt, thank you.
None of us who lived through that will forget it.
Not at all.
Either. All right. If you have an interest for more coverage on this immunity case, you can find it on our WUSA 9 app. You can find stories streaming on WUSA 9 Plus. We've got another live report coming up at 6 o'clock. And Nora O'Donnell will have more in-depth analysis on the CBS Evening News at 6:30.
You know, we should point out again that former President Trump was not in attendance for today's arguments at the Supreme Court. Instead, he was in court for day 7 of the New York hush money trial. What was revealed in that case is coming up tonight at 5:30.